Welcome back for our second part of the wet blending uh, demonstration. So here is the still life, and where I have it at this stage, we'll have one more part later on. So here we go. Starting off by blending in and trying to even out the tone and the darker color on the side of the um, letter 3, number 3. Just the value was a little light. Excuse me. So now it's a little bit darker. And then we're going to go and put some white paint down and start to add our highlights to this. So we're going to start with the number 7 there, the label on the bottle, and I'm just kind of putting in a stroke, and then I'm kind of blending and pushing it out just a little bit from that spot. It is going to blend with the light tan still, but not nearly as much, because by this point, that paint has started to dry a little bit. So it's a little tackier, and it's going to, I think, blend a little bit easier, be easier to blend this through into different areas of this. So I'm kind of carving into that number 7 to try and get the correct shape. Little chop off the top there and a little bit on the side. I'm not looking to have final details on any of this. I'm just trying to make it look a little more accurate. I see some highlights over on the number 3. So I am going to go over there and put those in, try and pop them out. And then I'm going to move over to the fish. So this salt shaker is white. So my goal here is to start adding white to it so that it feels like a lighter value than anything else that is in the picture. At least the general value, like what color it is. So going through doing the face, doing the fin, probably avoiding some of the shadow areas a little bit. I'm trying to play with some texture maybe here on the edge on the side. In the still life, you can definitely see that. Going back up to the tail, and I'll make a few passes at this to try and bring it all the way up, and so you can see all the detail, but it's going to take layering the paint in because it's blending. And I'll also probably go back to some shadows as well. So if I pull across the form like that, it's going to blend it in, give me a softer edge. Here I'm going back into the highlight of the bottle. This is where the light is hitting the bottle the strongest, so I'm going to add some extra white there so that it looks like it's the brightest area of the label. Now I'm going to go back and hit the brightest areas of the fish. So here I'm trying to get highlights on the tail and just slowly add a little more paint, get rid of some of those drawing lines that I started off with, and start to kind of bring one value of a shape up next to the next value of a shape and try to make, the overall image start to pop a little bit more. Adding a little more light to the number 3, a little more over here to the fish. And, as things get blended in, then I'll go grab a little more paint and add that in to make it a little bit brighter. Really not mixing much. Most of this is just either putting white paint on or putting dark brown on. I'm not really trying to blend much on my palette. I'm trying to blend most of the values on the canvas itself as I'm painting. Here we go, switching back over to a darker brown so I can pop some darker highlights and make the bottle seem a little bit darker. In the third session or the third part, we'll go back after it's dried and try to add a little more of a glaze to the bottle and get some super bright highlights and some super dark shadows in the same um, third video where we have let things dry a couple days. So here is kind of adding a little bit more to the shadows on the fish. Then I can blend them out if they get too dark. I'm trying to keep my shadows to the shadow areas and keep the lights to the light areas. Kind of readjust that shadow underneath. Make it a little bit darker, blend it out a little bit right there, kind of softly bringing my brush across, getting some darker accents inside the shadows on the number 3. Also thinking that this right side is a little bit darker. So adding that just as well. Looking at the last touches, bringing in some little bit of, blending, getting underneath the edges of that so that the shadows are a little bit stronger. Try to put a little bit of texture on this edge of the fish, which I'll soften here at the very end before I finish. I think I'm going to look at trying to make other parts of the bottle a little bit darker, especially up at the top. I do have a highlight up there, but it doesn't show up very much. So we'll even out some of the tones up there and then go through and grab some darker brown, really push some of those darker zones of reflection on the bottle so that we have a nice contrast between some really dark areas and some really light areas and can kind of set ourselves up for a nice finish on the next pass after this is all dry. A couple touches there, defining the edge. If I have a hard overlap like the fish in front of the bottle, I'm going to let those edges be hard on the bottle itself. I might soften some of those edges. And I think that's about it for today. And we'll see you in the next tutorial. Thanks for watching.